We are on Iron Sharpens Iron podcast number 2. Now we have got our first guest, and this guest is a good friend of mine, but yet he's also a bit of a mentor and a huge inspiration to me. Now, he won the over 60s MPA Britain, looking absolutely awesome. He's incredible hard trainer, very, very strong, very smart guy. I think you're going to have a really good listen to this. This podcast is going to be awesome. So let's get on with it and enjoy it. This is Russell Clark.
Hey, Russell, this is John Hart, and I'm just introducing myself really quick. But hey, Russ, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. I have to, echo what Ian just said, and I want to welcome you to the podcast. You've been a true inspiration to a lot of us, not just, the naturals, but I even know the enhanced. They look at you as just a real standard at this point where, you're hitting, maybe you can give us some of the details. I know you're at this point 63, but please give us some stats on where you've been and a little bit on your background, your career up until now within bodybuilding. Please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, right. Okay. Where do you start? Well, like I've written in the book as well, the time that I started or discovered bodybuilding was after I had a motorbike accident. I was in the Navy at the time, and I got the unenviable task of working over the Christmas period while two-thirds of the were on home leave. And it was a decent day, and I just thought, well, I'll wash my motorbike. So I washed it, went down the end of the dockyard, turned round again, no helmet on because it wasn't a road, it wasn't a public road, But unbeknown to me, on the way back, I mean, the funny thing is there used to be an advert on the television at the time, and it was about motorcyclists looking back before you turned. But when you look back, you do that, your arm comes back as well. Yeah. And that's what I think happened. I veered from the left-hand side of the jetty to the right-hand side. And in that time that I'd done that, a car had come out from my left, straight in front of me, and I hit it head on. No crash helmet on, flew over the handlebars and hit a rubbish skip, yellow rubbish skip that was at the side of the ship, and head on, just crumpled. They all thought I was gone. No crash helmet or anything. Next thing I remember, I'm waking up in hospital. And they told me I'd been involved in an accident and it was my fault. Well, I couldn't remember a thing of it. And that I was lucky to be alive. And the doctors put it down to the fact that I didn't actually see the accident happen. So if I had, I would probably be a goner because I would have stiffened up and froze. Right, and I would have hit it with impact like that and just broke every bone in my body and probably killed myself. But anyway, as a result of that, I have fractured my arm in 2 places. And going back right to the beginning, at school, for example, I was never really any good at any sport. I always wanted to be part of a team, or always wanted to be chosen for, to play. I was no good at running. I was only probably about 5'4" at 16. So short legs. No speed in me, nothing on me. I was about 7 stone wet through. And even at, break times when we were playing football and we were getting chosen, I was always the last one to be chosen. He's left. Well, we've got to have him then. In winter, I'd be playing in goals because nobody wanted to roll about on a hard, solid, frozen ground. In summer, I was relegated to the sidelines because everybody wanted to play in goals because it was nice and soft and that. So I could never actually become part of a team or find anything that I could excel at. So getting back to now a motorbike accident, the doctor said to me, in order for you to get back to a reasonable health so that you can sail in January with the ship again, then just try and do some resistance training, try and do some weight training. So I'd never thought about that. I'd never looked into it. Nobody had ever told me that there was a sort of anything like that about, weight training, weights, what was that? So I thought, well, I don't want to have a heavy fine, because obviously everybody's telling me it was my fault, so I'm going to get a heavy fine if I didn't sell from the Navy itself. And so I bought a bull worker, and those straight things with the strings on. Ian, you've got one, haven't you?
Still got one.
Still got one. And and I started using that, and it had a program in it, and I followed it, and things started to develop, and I thought, this is amazing. What is this? How can we take this further? I'm building my body up. It was just total shock. I could have done anything. I could have done press ups, I suppose, but this bull worker just set me on the path, and I started then getting interested in weight training. I started trying to find more information out, and then the only information in those days, because early 1980s, with the magazines, which were on the top shelf in W.H. Smith, right next to the top shelf magazines, if you like. They were. I was a very quiet boy, and I was very self-conscious, and I was always worried what people would think of me. So to be trying to 5'6" as I was then, trying to grab a magazine from the top shelf, where next to the bodybuilding magazines were all these magazines.
Right. That's a nice way of putting it, right, Ian? Men's magazines, right?
Yeah, men's magazines. And I was thinking to myself, well, I'm taking this up to the counter. What are people going to be thinking of me? I'm looking at a magazine with men that are virtually got nothing on. Are they going to think of me odd? Very, very self-conscious. And some days I'd go and the shop would be that busy, and I'd walk out again without a magazine because I was that embarrassed, what people would think of me. Silly now when you look back, but at the time I was still young, So and that's how it started. I did get the magazines, and I read the routines that the bodybuilders of the time, the Arnold and Franco and Lou and all the top bodybuilders round about that time, and Frank Zane.
So far, Russell, as the story goes, it sounded to me like you're perfect for bodybuilding. That's what it sounds like. You're perfect for bodybuilding.
Yeah, I mean, well, for the mentality, but my physique was
not the team sport. You're actually doing something which is for you and helps you actually build your confidence as you got older. So you're building the groundwork there.
And that was another byproduct of it. It gave me confidence as well, and people started to notice, that my physique was changing, and I liked that, and that gave me confidence. So I joined after that draft. I mean, I was on the ship, and we had a very limited weights. We had one bar, I think, two 20-pound plates, and a flat piece of wood, and some 56-pound weights that they used to throw over the side of the ship with a line on, which I used as the feet. And I put the board across it and got a plastic chair, put the bar on the plastic chair, put the weights on with no collars, collars. And can you imagine being on a Leander class frigate at sea, and you're going like this, and you're underneath laying on a wooden plank with a plastic chair with a weight on it like this, and you're doing this.
One thing for sure we could say is that all of your accessory muscles were getting worked really well. Your rotator cuffs, everything.
You're getting a core workout along with your bench press, weren't you?
Without even realizing it. Yeah. So after that draft, as it was, I was shore based for a year, and I joined the City Gym in Portsmouth. And sailors in Portsmouth were not liked by the locals. They said that we took their women from them, but not me. I was too busy in the gym. But I went to the gym and nobody spoke to me. Eventually, probably after about 3 months of being there, the owner warmed to me a bit, and he started talking to me. But nobody spoke to me there. They wouldn't speak to me. They wouldn't entertain me. They wouldn't help me or do anything. But it didn't bother me. I was on a mission. You know, I liked what I found, and I was going to go through with it. And I carried on.
How long from there did you start competing? Because I remember you competed as a youngster and didn't come into your own until you got older, till you got better, you know, till you changed your training philosophies later. So how long was it after first starting training before you started competing?
That's right. I think it's either 1982 or 1983. One of those. Again, when I came out of the Navy, I did compete before I went in the RAF, because I'd gone to Brian Taylor's in Bentley, just outside Doncaster, and that was a proper bodybuilding gym. It was above a pub, and everybody that entered the Mr. Doncaster trained there. Basically, the lineup was made of all people. There were the odd one or two that came from other gyms.
This gym was in Doncaster.
Yeah,
and
it was in
how long
Doncaster.
ago before that shut down? You know, was it open for a long time? Because I think I've been in that gym.
It was, yes, but they've knocked it down now. The building itself, and there's houses there. But I can't remember when it was a long time. It was open still.
Yeah.
It was run by a lady called Edna Taylor, and she was married to Brian Taylor.
Yes. Yeah. I have been there. Well, I've competed. They did a powerlifting comp in that place. Sure, they did.
Right. It wasn't very big. It wasn't a big area. And well, looking back, and so I'd gone there. Yeah, proper old school. And I'd gone there, and everybody competed at the Mr. Doncaster. So I think I did it, or it was at some competition anyway that was in our area. And I did get my picture in the newspaper. I think I actually, I don't know if I got third or fourth or something like that, but I think there was only 3 or 4 in it. So, you know, maybe I came last. I don't know. But yeah, I joined the RAF. So training went by the way for a while. But after coming out of the RAF, I got back into training. I wasn't in the RAF all that long because I was going out with a girl and I wanted to get married. They were going to send me off to Belize or the Falklands. So I thought, no, I'm going to come out and I'm going to get married, as you do. So once I was back out again, I then went back to Brian Taylor's and carried on training and competing every year, and basically not getting anywhere in any competitions.
That right there, Russell. That's the part that was kind of captivating to me about your story when I read in your book. And let's give it some props too, by the way, for everybody out there. Adaptive Resistance Training, Russell Clark. You can get this on Amazon. It's only like $7, man, in US, $7 US. It costs nothing. Yeah. I mean, it's so inexpensive, and it's packed full of information, more than you get in 30, 40 pages anywhere else. Okay. But the part that got me about your career, Russell, was the bulldog mentality. I mean, you came out year one. Okay. You didn't place, you didn't do well, maybe took last. Okay. But each year out of your gym, here you are at 1983. You went I have the years written down, man. You went 1983, 1984, 1985, 1986, 1987. I don't think you won the thing until, what year did you win it?
1988.
88. You went out 5-6 years straight.
That's really good.
Right, Ian? I mean, that's right there. That's the kind of
keep getting up and going forward. Amazing.
That's it, man. That we call that bulldog mentality where I'm at, you know, in my gym in the States. That bulldog mentality, that mindset, that's what I really meant. You're all right. As far as bodybuilding goes, you were built for it, okay? You were built for it. And not only that, but we've left out a little crucial factor along the way for all of the viewers, and that is you were natural right from the beginning, a lifetime natural. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And now my real question becomes, in the gym where you were at, was this a mainly natural gym, or you had guys loaded on the gear also?
No, there were a lot of guys that were taking the gear, and that's probably what actually put me off. I remember one guy one day telling me or asking me if I could grab hold of this needle for him and put it somewhere. And I looked at the size of the needle and I went, "You are joking." So no, it had the opposite effect. You know, seeing guys that were taking gear in the gym had the opposite effect to me. I didn't want to go that route. You know, it put me off completely.
Well, and Russell, I mean, I know you know this about Ian, but you don't know it about myself. But both Ian and I have spoken many times about this. We don't judge the guys that do it. Hey, more power to you, right? More power to you. You go ahead and you do it, okay? But when we choose not to do it, don't put us down because of it. Don't ever step on us because of it, okay?
Everybody has a personal choice.
That's right. And it's respect both ways. So for anybody watching this right now, that's important too, is that Russell, we're taking as an example, his training program, which we're going to get into later on, is also a great program, whether you're enhanced, whether you're not. As a matter of fact, I want to share with you guys what he says in the opening of the book. Okay, I'm going to read this really quick. You mind, Russell?
No, carry on. Thank you.
Okay. In the beginning of this book, he says, this book right here, this program is for both men and women, young and old. It's for those who want to prepare themselves before joining a gym, as well as for those who have been going to the gym for a while and find that they know that they have not made any progress at all and they've reached a plateau in their training. It's for those who may be finding it hard to see the wood for the trees, getting bogged down in all the different routines and confused with all the contradictory information and advice. It's for those who have a reason for wanting to go to the gym, a goal to work towards, for those who want to achieve their objectives in the shortest time possible. He goes on and on listing for those. Essentially, it's for everybody. That's my point.
Really good book. Yeah, really, really good book. I can really vouch for it. So it's an amazing book. You know, your programs in there as well, what you can fill in and follow. You can follow 10-week programs. Now, Russ, my first question to you regarding, now you was competing for years and years and years, and you were doing, if I remember rightly, doing the run-of-the-mill sort of programs. And then you took to high-intensity training. Tell us how you started that and what difference it made to you and how much of a difference it made to your physique. And that's when I think, and I think you think the same, was when you started winning shows, you made a huge improvement. So please tell us about that, if you will.
Well, I got to 1987. I competed at the Mr. Doncaster yet again and didn't place. Got back into the gym, and I can't even remember where I found it, but I'd never heard about it before. I just heard about the split routines and the chest, back, biceps, shoulders, legs, triceps, multiple sets. Never heard about this high intensity training. It must have been in a magazine or something that I read an article, and I cannot remember where I found it. And I was intrigued. I thought, well, you know, this guy called Arthur Jones, he's with Mike Mentzer, and he's promoting one set, you know, for, you know, muscle growth. I thought, well, I'm going to try this out, and I managed to find a basic routine, and I started using this routine, and after it was a 10-week routine, and I can't even remember where I found it. And I followed it for 10 weeks. And within 10 weeks, I'd made more gains than I'd made in the previous 5, 6, 7 years. And people thought, I mean, I can't remember that far back, but I'm sure that people thought that I was starting to take something. You know, but I just exploded. I'm doing less in the gym, spending less time in the gym, doing one set per exercise, per body part, basically 16 sets, no more per workout. I was in and out of the gym in no more than 40 minutes and 3 times a week. It freed up my life again. I was no longer spending 5, 6 days a week in the gym, spending 2, 3 hours in the gym. And I was making more gains and more progress than I'd ever done in my whole life. I was hooked.
So let me ask, you know, Ian asked, I'm glad he asked that question, because I had a part B to that. And that was, I wrote that one down, which is up until that point, Russell, you did do the standard thing of occasionally trying different routines, but of a more high volume approach. Is that right?
Sorry, John, can you, you froze there. Can you ask that again?
So up until that point, when you switched to the high intensity training, up until that point, the first few years of your training, you did do the standard sort of protocol of, or non-protocol of, just varying, trying different exercises, different routines, different combinations, but yet you still didn't make great progress. So my point is you didn't happen for the first time to switch your routine to a high intensity training routine and suddenly kaboom, the change made a difference. It wasn't just simply the change, but rather the fact that it was of a higher intensity nature, shorter workouts, less often, all of that combined.
Yeah.
That brought better progress, right? So I want to be clear about that, because the way you wrote it in the book, it makes perfect sense that if you had done like everybody else, spinning your wheels, and progress wasn't satisfactory, all of a sudden a guy like Arthur Jones, who was very charismatic, and even Mike Mentzer, they were bringing, a lot of promise to their routines at the time. And I see that you did jump into the Arthur Jones version of it as well. Yes?
Yes, that's right. Yes. And all of those, you just couldn't put your finger on one area of it, but all of those that you just mentioned there, the combination of all that, fewer training sessions, higher intensity, fewer sets, using the right weight for a specific
and obviously
exercise.
Progressing in those weights as well, because that was the key to keep
exactly. Making a record, knowing before I went to the gym what I was going to do. Not even having to think about it when I got to the gym. Oh, what exercises should I do today? What weight should I put on the bar? I already knew that before I got to the gym. It was all written down for me. And once I'd achieved my target number of reps for a particular exercise, that was it. I was done. Next time I came, I would try and beat that by 1 rep, only 1 rep. And that's about life as well, isn't it? If you start anything, start with a single step. And that's what I was doing, starting with a rep or 6 reps, then going to 7, then going to 8. Once I reached my upper guide that I worked out, then increase the weight by 5%. And again, the reps drop down. So I'll drop back down to, for example, 6, and I'll push for 6. I'll get 6. And then the next time I come, I'll get 6. And, okay, you've got to stop eventually, because otherwise I'd be lifting 1,000 pounds, wouldn't I? The muscle only has a
Let me just ask you a question there, Russ. Right now, I know from your book as well, and from obviously training with you a few times as well, that you have worked out, like Arthur Jones mentioned in articles, and it was also mentioned in Ellington Darden's book, 10 weeks to massive muscles, or something like that. There's a guideline for each muscle group. And obviously working in those guidelines can create a deeper inroad into obviously the working set, which allows you to gain more growth. So, like it says in your book, there's you might have a set of rep ranges for leg curls, you might have a set of rep ranges for chest work, and so on and so on. So just explain that a little bit to us, if you will, because the viewer might think, right, what do you mean by rep ranges? And then, then we can go from there.
Yeah, if we go right back to the beginning, and as the book explains it, you need to find out your 1 rep maximum. That is the weight in which you can lift, only doing 1 rep for, not 2. So, for example, you're doing bicep curls, and you need to know your 1 rep maximum. You'll put weights on the bar that you think that you can do a 1 rep with, but you'll go and try and do 2 under strict form. So you'll lift the weight under strict form and lower it under strict form. And then you try for another one. If you can get 2 out, that's not your 1 rep maximum. You put the weight down, you add a little bit more weight on, leave it for about 5 minutes, and then come back and lift the bar again until you get to the point where you can just do 1 rep. That's your 1 rep maximum.
In strict form.
In strict form.
Yeah.
Your 1 rep maximum, Ian, or John, for doing that exercise may be completely different to mine. It probably is. So we've all got different weights, but we know what our 1 rep maximum is.
At that period.
And as Arthur Jones says, that you take 20% off of that 1 rep maximum weight, and that is the weight that you're going to be using for a set.
Right.
Now, how many reps you get out of that set, again, will vary from person to person. I trained with somebody in the late 80s, and she was a female competitor, and we did her 1 rep maximum, barbell curls again, and then we took the 20% off, and she did a set. She was still going at 25 reps.
Yeah.
My 80%,
to recover.
my 80%, I could only manage 6-7 reps. So everybody's different, so.
And throughout different muscle groups as well.
Exactly. You've got to do it for each muscle group, because you'll have a different rep range. So if we go back to the barbell curl again, and I've now got 80% of my 1 rep maximum on the bar, I lift the weight up, and under strict form, I do a set. I might get 6 reps out. I might get 7. Let's say 7 for example. 7, and that's it. I can't get another one out. 7. So my rep range, the way that I work it out anyway, and I always have done, is I take 1 away from that and add 1 to. So that's my rep range.
That's your rep range.
So for that exercise. Now, so I'm always wanting to get within that range, but I'm also wanting to get a rep above the upper limit. So next time I come to the gym, I'll lift up my 80% weight again, and I'll curl that. And I'm now going for my upper rep range or more. I might get, if I get my upper rep range and I can't do any more, I'll leave it till the next session, come back again, and then I'll try to get to 9 reps. Once I've got to 9 reps, and
which is a couple past,
I'm happy. My upper limit is 8. Once I get to 9, then I'll try it again the next session to make sure that it's a true it's an accurate one. And once I'm confident that I can achieve 9 with that, then I need to fetch that weight. I need to increase the weight by 5% to fetch that back down to within that rep range again. By increasing the weight, obviously my muscle must be getting bigger. I'm handling more weight now, and each time you go above your upper limit and you're increasing the weight by 5%, then what has got to happen? Your muscle has got to react to that. It's got to stimulate growth.
Absolutely. And you're working in the right rep range for that muscle as well. So it might be for legs, for instance, you might be like working in between 12 and 15 reps, somewhere like that. So instead of like just off the top of your head, picking a rep range and going for it, you're actually working in the right rep range for each muscle. So you're giving it the most possible work it could have, and it'll improve the most. Because everybody's got areas in the body which react different to different reps.
That's right. Different exercise. Everybody uses different machines. And sorry, John.
You see, Ian, you make a great point right there, because it's very customized what Russell's doing right there. He's saving us the trouble of having to accept the vast majority of people. Maybe they work within a 12 to 15 on their quads, for example, and get great hypertrophy from that, right? But I might be that individual that needs to do 20 to 22 reps, but I wouldn't know that immediately unless I did what Russell's saying to do, to personalize for me on my quads and save me the time of that hit and miss for the next, I didn't mean any pun there, by the way, but the hit and miss for the next, who knows, it might take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years of my training for me to finally
find out.
Right. So I really appreciated that, how you take that approach, because to somebody listening to us right now, this might sound more complex than it really is.
It's not, but it's not complex at all.
Right.
And in the book, it's all laid out for you, easily to do. You can write it out. I know we keep going on about the book, but it's for the money, honestly, you are not going to find anything better. And it's just a brilliant book. So it shows you how to fill it out, It's very easy to understand, very easy to do. All it'll take is an hour of your time, and you've got it all set up, and you on the way you go. Planning is the key. Once you've got a plan, set to it.
Absolutely. And I appreciate it even more so how you said, to use a workout log, or, keeping track of your workouts, that whole mentality of knowing what you're going to do before you go to the gym, being able to play it out in your mind. Everybody from Ian, myself, Dorian Yates back in the day. I mean, you rehearse what you're going to do that day, and you go in with a plan. And now you, Russell, are just confirming everything that we've been doing and just how effective that is. If you go in without a plan, you just did plan to pretty much fail. You don't have a plan.
Yeah, no, you aren't going to get any gains unless you know where you're going. You need to obviously have a plan written out, and that's for everything in life, really. If you want a good business, you don't just wing it. You have to obviously, think things through a little bit more.
I had a quick question for you in between this, Russell, is that during that time period when you made that change to that high intensity training, let us know how was it? I mean, we're talking about the late 80s in a local hardcore gym where they know you, and there may be a little bit of peer pressure even to some who might want to change routines, but really it was not accepted at the time as the way to work out, right?
That's right. Yes. But I missed part of that, John, because you froze again.
So basically I was asking at the time, discuss with us, how was it changing routines when you're in a local gym, a hardcore gym, you have family, you have friends in there who know you after several years, and here you are suddenly not training like them anymore, right?
Yeah. I can't actually remember. I mean, I've always been someone that likes to think outside the box, do things my own way. I'm not a follower, although we tend to, and I did it in the beginning. But to find something like this, it was right down my alley, because I didn't have to be a three sets of 10. And I'll go, well, why are you doing 3 sets and why 10 reps? And nobody knows the answer. Nobody can give me an answer. But when they say to me, you're only doing 1 set, I said, yes, I'm only doing 1 set. Well, does that work? Well, what do you think?
I think even today in 2024, 40 years later, all 3 of us have put in 4 decades at this point or more. I know that Ian, I think you have both of us by a few years. With all of that being said, here we are 40 years later, 40 plus years later, it's still it's looked at pretty weird if you tell somebody you're doing 1 set, right?
Yeah, definitely. I've trained, there's a good friend of mine, and I still know him, John, his name is, and I trained him probably about 20 years ago using this system. And even today, he will tell me that it was the best workouts he'd ever had. And yet he now still, after that, he went back to training the split routines and multiple sets. People can't stop doing it. Even though he knows that when he trained with my method, he made gains. And it was the best training he'd ever done. And he will tell other people, listen to Russ, he knows what he's talking about. But he's still doing a split routine and he's not made any more gains.
Well, I'm guilty of doing that many times, where I've gone back to sort of not the single set. I don't do high sets by any means, but I do sort of abbreviated training and go back to sort of split routines now and again. The simple reason is that what you're doing, Russ, is very, very hard. And I get to the point where, and I've said this on the podcast we've done before with questions, I get to the point where you're scared to train. You actually, because it is so tough. And a lot of people can't put up with that. And for many years I've been able to do that. I mean, you push really hard, but you get to the point where you're like, you're a bit nervous, and you get too nervous, and it gets worse and worse and worse. So, I admire that you've not done anything different other than this for absolutely years, because I think, God, that's proper hardcore, is that? It's proper hardcore to be able to do all body programs like you've done for the amount of years you've done them. That is some going. And I've trained with you. I know how strong you are. I know how hard you work.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Karen, my partner, is exactly the same because she had a heart attack in 2015. I'd just met her a couple of months before then, and so she had a heart attack, and
Oh,
the
sorry
doctors
for
still
that.
don't know why she had a heart attack. But after about 6 months, I got her into the gym, and we did the routine that obviously I promote. And within a year, she was stood on a bodybuilding stage at the age of 57, I think it was. And the year after that, 2019, she got fourth in the Britain finals. You know, she absolutely transformed her body from somebody who'd never lifted a weight at that age as well. You know,
Hmm.
so like John, you mentioned that I say it's for everybody. Doesn't matter what age you are, what gender. If you've never lifted a weight in your life and you're in your 50s, it works for you too.
Yeah, I have to share with both of you guys. You've both influenced me uh, enough and quite a bit. I mean, I've known Ian a long time, and I've had quite a lot of respect for him. And Russell, being introduced to you recently, uh, and your training and reading it detail for detail, uh, it's affected myself and my training and got me quite excited to do all body training. And I have been twice a week. And really, I don't want to use the word enjoy, okay? Because obviously, like,
Yeah, that's not
yeah,
happening.
right? Like
Yeah.
like Ian said, it gets to the point where it's like you're getting a little bit nervous. But I have to point out, Ian, our brother Russell right there, the one thing that he wrote and he consistently kept in this book and his routine, his ART routine, is every 10 weeks he's taking a week off or maybe
Yeah.
longer, but
Yeah. Yeah.
he's taking that time off and it's programmed in, it's built in. And so it makes me question, for longevity purposes, reduction of injuries, mentality purposes, like it gives you
Yeah.
something to look forward to,
Mm.
gives you a chance to ramp up again when you hit week one all over again. And then the variation, those 10 weeks that he's doing.
I was going to mention this. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. They're all
man.
variations. Yeah, they are. They're bang on.
All the way, week to week, specializing on legs at the beginning of the workout one week, chest the next week, right? Shoulders the week after that. I mean, to me, it got me so really interested, and it gave me that it's almost like a sense of purpose to go and do it. Now I have to have more of a plan. So it gave me more of a
Mm.
plan. Now I do have a question to ask both. Well, it's for both of you guys because you both are very similar in this way. And that is, I shared with Ian that I would make a jump onto the all body routine, a couple of months ago, and I kept my word. I'm on it. Now, my question is this: initially, and maybe some other people out there have experienced this, when I go and I train this way in the past, I would end up on the floor after 3 or 4 big exercises. I mean, searching for oxygen molecules down near the ground. And it would be such a turnoff for me. I knew it was hard work. I knew it was doing something drastic to myself, but it would be such a turnoff. And my training partner at the time, I remember him looking at me and him saying to me, if I had to do this every day, I'd quit today. This is just too dramatically hard, all of that. So my question becomes this: do you believe that it's called, Arthur Jones used to, I guess it's termed rush factor training, right? Moving quickly
Mm.
from one exercise to the next. That's what I was doing because that's what I thought I should do. Boom, 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 as fast as I could from exercise to exercise. Let me finish. And then this time around, though, I told Ian, I said, I'm going to do it, but I'm taking a little more time in the beginning to build up that conditioning to be able to do that and handle it without landing on the floor, without, wanting to throw up and just be like, and it made me question, maybe it's because I've spent so many years being able to drive really, really hard within a given set. And because of that, I have to let my conditioning catch up, in other words. But how do you all feel about that? Is it necessary? Am I taking the right approach? What can you share with our listeners right now, our viewers right now, as far as taking their approach in the beginning? Either one of you, go.
Can I go first, Russ? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Now I think I've trained with Russ, and he doesn't rush as much as I have done in the past. And that made me feel that I wasn't lifting as much weight as I could have done by resting a little bit longer. The
Oh,
other thing is with you, well, me and Russ are probably in the maybe 150. Well, Russ is a little bit heavier than me, a little bit bigger than me. I might be in the 140s, 150 pounds range, whereas yourself, you'd be 200-ish or
yeah,
more.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So again, there's a lot
200,
more
right?
muscle there. There's a lot more metabolic waste there. So you're going to feel it even more. So, us being smaller guys, I think we could move quicker anyway. But I think, starting off, maybe not rushing, and then, that is a way of turning up the intensity of the workout as time goes on. Because if you've got the same 10 exercises, make sure you could do the whole 10 weeks and giving yourself a break in between. You could sort of say to yourself, like, look, I've had a minute and a half, I've had 90 seconds or 2 minutes or whatever you have in between every exercise. The next time you do that 10-week block, you could drop it to a minute. The next time you do that 10-week block, you could drop it even further. That's a way of sort of like increasing the intensity. And if your weights have gone up as well as you're moving quicker between the exercises, where you're getting a massive double whammy there on your system, which is going to make it grow massively well.
So that makes me also bring up the fact that I took that from you, Ian, in the beginning, and I recorded exactly how long each workout is taking me so that the next time I go back, right, I'm going in with the mentality of, oh, that took 26 minutes. I'm going to make my attempt to do at least 25 minutes to be done, because I know, it affects the intensity levels. But Rust, so Ian indicated that you take a little bit more rest than going immediately into the next exercise?
Yeah, that's the way that I change up my gears, and the intensity. If I'm going for a competition, or I particularly want to get a lot fitter, because you get your cardiovascular, you go fitness through doing this as well, then I will then cut down the timing between sets. If I'm off season, if you like, I will go from one exercise and to another exercise, slow pace, but I'm still doing those exercises. And this is the way in which you can change up the intensity. It's very difficult. And a lot of people will say, well, how do you do that in a busy gym? Yeah, it's very difficult to get round that quickly to using all the exercise, using the machines or the equipment when other people are using them at the same time. It's not impossible, because you're only doing one set, remember. So if somebody is using a piece of equipment, I just jump in. While you're waiting, while you're resting, do you mind if I just jump in between you? I'm only doing one set. I never get a no. Because you're going to be gone before they're even recovered to do their next set. And you can whiz around like a little ant in between all the people and out the door, and they're still there doing the same exercise.
Yeah, I mean, I've trained with Russ, and it's from one. What we do is a set each. So he does a set, I do a set, and we go on like that all the way through. And for a guy who's probably, what do you weigh now, Russ?
About 10.5 stone.
So 150-ish, 152 or something like that, are you? Maybe 150-ish. Ridiculously strong, especially in your pressing. Shoulder press was ridiculously strong, and your legs are very, very strong as well. So impressed with your strength, even going round one exercise to the next.
Yeah, so, the other thing, sorry, John, the other thing is as well is what you can do is you can section your exercises off. Say you're doing legs, so you've got thigh extensions, leg curls, leg press, or squats. There's a group of 3 there. Get the equipment ready first and do all those in quick succession. Then go to your next one, which may be shoulders, for example. So you're doing side laterals with shoulder press. Get the machine ready in that time, because you're on your own. So if it's a busy gym, you can section it off into compartments and go quickly. So as soon as you finish your side laterals, you're into your pressing. You're not having to wait for it. And that's that sectioned off. And then onto your back, for example, lat pull downs. For that, you'll be doing pullovers to stretch out your back and your chest to get your blood flowing through there, and then straight into your lat pull downs or your pull-ins, and again, you put that into a compartment as well.
So it's set off in sections. Now, I know what the listeners are going to say now. Now, what about warm-ups? Now, as I do it, what I do is warm up the compound movements separately before you even start in the gym. Like you might do a few free hand squats, a couple of leg extensions, a couple of pull downs, warm up your shoulders. Because once you go, because I get asked this all the time as far as high intensity training goes, because they think they've got to stop and then warm up 3 or 4 warm ups each exercise. But if you've killed your legs, like say you've got like that leg block, what's mentioned in your book, and you're doing your leg block, you've got 3 bang, 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 those exercises. Your core temperature is up that much. You could go straight to a bench press machine with the maximum weight. You'll be no chance of injury really, because your core temperature is massively up. You're proper warm. So if you've done a few little exercises just to warm up the joints, make sure the shoulders are right, you should be able to go bang, bang, bang all the way through it without actually having to sort of do the warm ups, because people will ask that.
That's right. The only warm up that I do, and which I explain in the book as well, is that I'll do 5 minutes on the stepper, the treadmill, the stairmaster, whatever, to get the blood flowing into the legs, and then it's leg extensions, leg curls, which is leading up to your compound exercise, either your squats or your leg press. So you've got your blood flowing, you're already warmed up before you get to that compound exercise. And this is the same with every other exercise as well. And if you look at each routine, each week, you've got a isolation exercise followed by a compound. So you'll be doing your lat raises before you do your press. You're getting the blood flowing into those areas. You're ensuring. And it was a good point that you made there, Ian, about or John, about injury. I mean, touch wood. I've got some wood. Oh, wood. There it is. Touch wood. I've never had an injury. I've never had an injury. I don't do. We know that injury is caused by repetition after repetition. It's the same thing. Tennis players, golfers. It's repetition. I'm doing one set of 8 to 10 reps, for example, and then that's it. I am not then, because it's my belief as well that if you're lifting a weight, your muscle is subjected to that stress, so it becomes weaker at that moment in time. You have a break, and then you go in and you do another set. The muscle's already weak, but you might be doing a pyramid set, for example, and you're putting more weight on. You're increasing the weight as your muscle becomes weaker. What are you doing to yourself? What is that muscle? Eventually, it's going to give way. You're going to have injuries through that sort of training, or through years and years of repetition, doing massive amount of sets. And like I say, I haven't, other than my knees, which, I mean, I'm 63 now and I've been using them for 63 years. That's it. And they're just aches. They're not injuries. I've never injured myself by doing this sort of training.
Plus all the sets you do as well is they're very strict. They're very there's no explosiveness with them. Everything's full range with a squeeze. Everything's bang on. So you're not doing anything ballistic, which is going to hurt the joints anyway. So it is a really safe way of training, a very safe way. Plus you're picking out all the rep ranges for everything. Everything is planned out to a T, and that is one of the keys to improving and keep improving as you get older. Is keeping everything like planned to an absolute T, like you do.
And I hope, by doing this routine, and I have been doing it since 1987 now, that I can carry on doing it right into my 90s.
Wow. I love hearing that.